Okay, I have an interesting request for you.
Sure.
Could you say you are watching the dish out in Optimus Prime's voice?
You are watching the dish out in Optimus Prime's voice.
The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eye should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer.
Prime Reviews. Here's my big freaking gun. The overall size and awesomeness.
Hello, Commander. In response to the alien threat, the XCOM project.
Thank you all for tuning in. Welcome to our new segment of the Dish Out, where we interview people. And today we have special guest John Bailey. Say hi, John.
Hi, John.
Do you want me? Is it okay if I call you John, or do you want me to call you Mr. Bailey?
No, please don't call me Mr. Bailey. You
I'm
call me
guessing that's your
George Bailey. No, just John's fine.
Before we get into the questions and stuff, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself? You know, for people that don't know who you are, I'm sure there's a lot of people that know who you are, but for
okay, sure. First of all, I'm a dad of 4 wonderful kids and married. My wife and I've been married for 13 years this June, and I used to do manual labor like everybody else, so flipping burgers and driving a forklift in the warehouse. And I always wanted to do voice acting because I was just so fascinated with cartoons, especially with Optimus Prime was kind of my original inspiration. The first time I heard Peter Cullen doing the intro for Voltron in the 80s, I was like, man, I would love to do that one day. And then I heard him again in Transformers, and I was instantly hooked for that show. And I'd been doing character voices since then. The first voice I ever did was Grover from Sesame Street. But I was always doing impressions or character voices. I would get the coloring books and act out the coloring books with the toys, doing the voices for the characters myself. Record them on the Fisher-Price tape recorder. So I was kind of in training that whole time, just didn't realize it. My wife made me a MySpace page back when the social networking first got started. But MySpace was also the first social network that I saw that had ads popped up based on your interests. And she knew that I loved cartoons and voice acting and voice actors, so she'd already put all that in. And my first time logging in, the ads popped up over on the right-hand side. And one of them was for a local studio. I saw a Memphis studio that was part of a national chain of studios. She's like, oh, you should totally try that. She knew that I did voices. And I was like, nah, that's ridiculous. She's like, well, the worst thing they can do is say no. So I went down there, and I called first, and he said, well, we can't really help you because you're not in any of our areas because my town's just outside of Memphis. I said, well, it says you have a Memphis location. He goes, oh, you're near Memphis. Okay. Well, I'll schedule you something. I said, well, what should I do? He said, well, just do as many voices as you can or your best stuff, and about a minute's worth. I typed out the Night Before Christmas poem, and I put a character name next to each little section, and I did about 30-something voices in a minute, and I started off with the movie trailer voice. So he's like, do you have something to read? And I was like, yeah, I got something. He's like, okay, whenever you're ready. So I started off with,
"'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse."
And the guy's I could see his jaw just drop on the other side of the glass. And I went straight from that into, like this Southern Larry the Cable Guy or Jeff Foxworthy, and the guy was just floored. He's like, can you come back in a couple of weeks? I'm like, yeah, sure I can. He's like, we don't really have any scripts here to make your demo that would show off what you can do. And I was like, well, I'll be glad to write something up for you. So I wrote actually more than half of what they ended up using in my demo. They offered me a contract in January the following year, which is a couple months after I recorded. And then February 1st was my official date of starting. They started sending me scripts February 1st, and by February, I think it was a February 11th, I'd already booked my first job. And it was for a steakhouse chain. So I was like, Oh, and I was just doing it part-time, so that was a great supplement to my income. And because I was doing it part-time, I was still driving a forklift, working regular hours. I was working third shift, and it was still pretty rough because I was working 10 to 14 hours a day. After a few months, the producer's like, man, you're doing really good. I'm like, I am? Because I didn't have anything to compare it to. And he's like, yeah, he said, there's been people here that we signed that they've gone 5 years and never booked one job. And you're booking several things every month. And I never missed a month the whole time I was with them either. So, and the second month I was with them, that's when I booked the Star Wars jobs. I did a campaign for the Clone Wars toys. And I also did some...
Did you do Rex? Commander
Rex? It was Captain Rex, and did the voice of a couple of toys. And so that was on my bucket list. That was two things on my bucket list because I always wanted to do a Star Wars job, and I always wanted to be the voice of a toy. And
how do you feel knowing that thousands of kids around the world have a toy with your voice in it?
Well, they may not know it, but it feels pretty awesome. Because they had done another Clone Trooper helmet that was a full helmet. The one I did was the mask. It's just called the electronic helmet, but it's only from the side forward.
The
full helmet was not me. That came out earlier. And I clicked the button. I was like, I just freaked out. I was in Target with my wife and kids, and my wife was like she was all proud of me and bragging on me. She's like, that's my husband's voice right there. And my mom acts like a crazy person. Every time she's in a store or she chases people down with my helmet going, this is my son. I was like, you're going to get yourself put in another house.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it one or two of your kids have autism?
My second born, he's my oldest son. He has autism spectrum disorder, as well as some other things like OCD and ADHD or ADD. I forget.
Okay, but because my mom used to do the same thing when I was growing up because I'm high functioning autistic. People in that that deal with autism, they're like, oh, high functioning autistic doesn't exist. It does. It's out there. We are out there. But my mom, used to play with me with my Legos and stuff and give them voices.
My mom did it for me too.
What I have it.
She might have been a little bit inspirational in that regard. She used to do. She swears that she's the one that got me interested in the first place in doing voices because she used to do Grover and Yoda. It's like, you do know those are the same voice, right? I was non-union for about 1.5 years, and that's where I got the Star Wars jobs, and it was a lot of commercial work. But I started doing YouTube stuff, and I started because I wanted a way to show people off what I could do, and it was a funny thing to do. And if I got bored, like the movie. I did the movie voice guy, and I did a Peter Cullen impression with my cell phone. The first cell phone I had that had video. I got stuck in traffic, so I pulled out my camera and recorded myself doing the intro for the movie. And that thing ended up getting, 300-something, 400,000 hits. So
I'm sure your wife hates watching movies with you because as soon as the trailer voice guy comes on, or like a person with
actually she's not.
And you start imitating them.
That's not usually the way it is. When she hears a movie trailer voice, the first thing she does is ask if it's me, and if it's me, she gets all bright in the face. She's really proud of me. She's my biggest supporter. So
I have a question from the CEO or my good friend, the head of the Dish Out. He asked, what is your favorite voice to do, and could you do it for us?
Well, I've already done it. My favorite voice has always been doing Optimus Prime's voice. I don't know why. I really like the character so much. I like the way he presents himself. I like the way he delivers his lines. He just has such a great cadence to it, and I've been doing it for just so long. And the older I've gotten, the better I've gotten at it. Because of course, when I started off, I was just a little kid, so I was doing Optimus Prime, sounding like this. So I've come a long way since those days, but. There's just something about the way that he delivers his lines. They're just. I used to tell my friends that he could sell anything to anybody because he would make everything sound so epic when he talked about it. Because if you did any item whatsoever, it's like you really need to eat bananas because they're full of potassium. And all of a sudden I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna eat some bananas.
I also know you from your movie trailer voice because I have a couple DVDs with you on it.
And my old manager anyway, he found me on YouTube, and he sent me an email. I didn't know he was a manager. I didn't know he had his own trailer company. He's like, would you mind reading some trailers for me? Well, I get that question asked all the time from kids ages 5 to grown-ups, so I had no idea who he was. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. But he sent me the scripts, and they were for 4 actual movies that have, some of them hadn't even been released yet. So these are, I mean, one of them was Extraordinary Measures with Brendan Fraser and Harrison Ford. I was like, this is a real film. And it just blew me away. And I recorded all 4, sent it back, and they finished me on 3 out of 4 of them. And the booking agent for them said, congratulations, this is the most anybody's ever booked their first time trying for our company. And very next day, my old manager called me, and he's like, "Hey, this is so and so, and we really like what you did, and I was wondering if you'd be interested in a management contract, and I would just kind of help you along with your career." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And what I didn't realize was that he pushed my career 30 years into the future, because most people, it takes a long time to get to that point. Most people struggle. They get an audition here and there. It takes them forever to get an agent. Without his help, my career wouldn't have been where it is. And now I'm with, I don't know if you know who Tom Kane is, but he's the voice of Yoda in the Clone Wars. I'm with his manager now, and all he had to say to me was that she was really good, and that, you know, his career wouldn't be what it is without her. So with his recommendation and my old manager's recommendation, I was fully ready to jump on board with her. And they got me into what's called ADR, which is where you voice match for characters and they replace it in movie trailers or commercials or whatever, because it gets expensive when it's a celebrity voice for just one line, because they have to come down to the studio, record
and they have to re-record it.
Exactly.
And match it up. Yeah.
I voice matched for Jeremy Renner. I voice matched for Chris Hemsworth. I voice matched for Will Ferrell. I voice matched for Chris Pine. My favorite job so far has been XCOM: Enemy Unknown, which is a video game that's currently out for PS2.
Yeah.
First of all, number one thing about getting criticism from somebody that's another voice actor is that my opinion is not really going to matter. The only opinion that would matter when it comes to voice acting would be the producer, the client that is willing to hire you. So,
oh well, dude,
I could say you're awesome all day long, but
dude, your opinion is more. It means more to me than you would know. But here's my old school Dr. Claw. Okay.
I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time.
You know.
That's really good. That's pretty dang close.
Now I have a couple questions from Tom Donovan, our buddy out in the UK. Now, granted, you know, I've already ran one of these questions by you, but you know, but this is a little oddball of a question. Now, granted, I don't read the best, so you know, bear with me, guys. But question number 1 from Tom Donovan, it says, because of the no need of screen production, do you ever show up to your job in just underwear and a bathrobe?
Actually, because my studio used to be my half bathroom. So if I get sick or need to use the bathroom, there's a toilet right there. So that's always a benefit. But the other benefit, the other drawback is that there's absolutely no air in there whatsoever. And we have some seriously hot summers here in the Mid-South area. We got up to 114 last year. So yeah, there's been a few times where I've been in nothing but briefs and no shirt, because I got so hot doing sessions because when you book sessions back to back, that's great for business.
Alrighty. Here's question number 2 from Tom.
Oh, have I ever done a position I regret? That's actually a pretty good question. I'm fairly conservative. In some respects, I'm very conservative, and I try not to harp on my religious views or my conservative beliefs, because they can get you in trouble in my line of work, because I'm working mainly in California. Is a fairly liberal state, and so you don't want to. That's one thing you don't want to bring up. So there's been some times where I've had to do lottery auditions, and I don't believe in gambling, and I've had to do casino auditions, and I don't support that. There's also been there's a really fine line, because I don't really believe in doing any alcohol. I don't personally drink, and I don't want my kids to drink, until they're old enough to at least make that choice themselves, to not do that. So I don't want to put my voice on something that I don't support, because it gives the false appearance that I support it. And it's not like everybody knows who I am based on my voice, but there are people who do know that, hey, that's John doing that voice. And I don't want people saying, oh, well, John's doing the Budweiser commercial, so he must be cool with that.
Alrighty, the last question I have from Tom is, if you had to perform an entire audio book, what would you hate to do the most?
I did an entire audiobook. You don't do it all in one sitting, first off. You do it as they're fairly lenient as far as if you need to use the restroom or if you need to take a break, because first of all, you're never going to want to stand to do an entire audiobook, because the audiobook I did was right at 400 pages, and it took us about a week. And the first of the week we were working, we did about 5 or 6 hours, and then as the week went on, we did more and more hours. And that last night to get done, so I wouldn't miss my flight back home.
What book was it, if I might ask?
It's called The Red Circle, and again, it's one of those jobs where it's a job, pays the bills, but it has language in it that I certainly don't use and wouldn't want my kids to use. But I mean, it's a military book, and I understand that. But it's called The Red Circle, and it's a book from the guy who trained the snipers in the military, and the guys that caught Osama bin Laden, I believe, it's the guy that trained them. I try to say yes to as many people as possible. I don't want to be these guys that's just so stuck on himself that he thinks he's big stuff and doesn't still help out the people because he used to be on the same level that they are.
And that's exactly why we started the Dish Out, is because some of these people that have gotten big in YouTube, they kind of forgot about the smaller people and how hard it is to get out there. So this is why we started the Dish Out, so we can help people get out there. Granted, you're the biggest name that we've ever gotten on this show, and we are very, very grateful.
I'm sorry for you.
But this is something. My friend JK wanted me to tell you something. As I said, I'm sure as you know already, JK is like the head of the Dish Out. That I help. I help him host the show and stuff. But this is his words, word for word. He wants me to say this exactly. So sorry if this comes off kind of strange. He said, "Thank you for being a beautiful man."
What voice does he want me to say it in?
He's thanking you for being a beautiful man, for doing what you do, for not being stuck upon yourself.
Thank you.
Talking to us lesser mortals off Mount Olympus. No, he was thanking you for being such a wonderful, beautiful man, and understanding what we're doing.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I started from nothing too, so I wanted to do sketch comedy and stuff, not toy reviews, but I decided to do them a funny way and just to get the word out. But I think the popularity on YouTube anyway came from the Transformers parody videos, and then from there, because that's just not something you can produce quickly and often, so I don't do it as much as I'd like to because it takes so much time.
Corner, I also wanted to know, when is your collab for autism awareness coming back out? When are you going to be working on that collab? With the
I'm actually already working on it. This year I'm doing something different. I've actually asked all voice actor friends of mine that I could get a hold of to make a small video to put in this collab. Mom
and my brother are going to be getting the puzzle piece tattoo right here.
Yeah, very cool. I don't have a puzzle piece tattoo, but I got a pretty cool Decepticon and Batman and TIE Fighter right there with some Matrix code going on. And just so your audience knows, every ad click that I get from YouTube, which they've changed so much now, I'm not sure how much of it I actually get, but all the money that I make off YouTube, just so I don't get, for one thing, don't get myself in trouble with the Screen Actors Guild, but I make a donation every year to Autism Awareness from the money that I make off of YouTube. So it's not like that money is just going back in my pocket or buying more toys or whatever. It actually goes to support autism awareness and research. This is the video room, so to speak. But it's been, I think I was either looking for something or just got busy working on some videos and made a mess and haven't had room to put anything back in here. Well, right now it's set up for action figure reviews. That's the nobody caught on, but I did a Hulk review for St. Patrick's Day because he's green. I've got Teletran set up. There's the entire ARC set. That's actually 2.5, right at 3 different sets from the iGear computer control center. They're all really, really sturdy and put together good, so I can use them. It's basically in 3 parts, so it's easier to take apart and put together without having 1,000 pieces. And then I have the ARC itself right here that I built myself for videos. And then I've got a shelf up there that I haven't put my handful of masterpieces will be on that shelf. All my favorite posters, all my autograph stuff, all my con badges and stuff. And
I like how you got the whole, original Transformers kind of grid going on in the back.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool idea. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. I took the black and blended it down into the purple to look like a Decepticon box. That's actually one of the questions on one of my contests. If you want to still enter one, that's still going on. I think I asked a bonus question of what my favorite toy of all time is. besides the original Shockwave, the Hot Toys Iron Man is the coolest thing I've ever owned. It's one of the best things I've ever.
I'd give my answer now, but I don't think it would count.
If my schedule's open, I try to help if I can. But if for those of you guys who don't know, my YouTube channel is youtube.com/Jon Jon 3PNT0. It's supposed to be short for John 3.0. So, and you can always go to my website and see the stuff that I've worked on. I've got video clips of the majority of some of the stuff that I've done at johnbaileyvo.com. So, thanks.
Yeah, guys, check them out. The link will be in the description, and we'll probably have an annotation somewhere on the screen. I don't know where, but I'm sure we'll get one up.
Just point everywhere. That way you've got it covered.
Yeah, it's like, so, yeah, guys, make sure to check out, the Dish Out. I've been Soma. This is John Bailey, as everyone knows. And I'm sure John Bailey supports and approves of the Dish Out.
John Bailey approved.
There we go. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you all next time. More difficult than it needed to be. But thank you so much, and we'll see you all later. And you have a good night, John. And
thanks, man. You too.
Hope to hear from you soon and to hear and see what new interesting things you do.
Thanks, man. Good night.
Alrighty, good night.